3 weeks ago, I asked all of you what my next Weatherby cartridge should be. And as you can see here, 28% of you said the 65300 Weatherby Magnum. Let's take a deep dive into the 65300, why all of you are wanting me to try it out. We're going to see how this is the flattest shooting cartridge in the world. The cartridge in front of me is the most popular hunting cartridge currently right now. This is the 6.5 Creedmoor. And when I think of the 6.5 Creedmoor, the first few words that come to mind for me is efficient, accurate, light recoiling, and man bun. This is the 6.5 300 Weatherby. And the words that come to mind when I think of this cartridge are fast, flat shooting, extremely overbore, short barrel life, fun. My Weatherby collection is small, but thanks to you guys watching my videos, I have a 257 Weatherby, and of recently my dream rifle, a Mark V Deluxe, in the 340 Weatherby. Now I admit, I have really tried to stay away from 6.5 cartridges. I just push against the norm. I know 6.5s are the hot thing right now, and they're just not my cup of tea. But since you guys are asking for it, and as long as my wife doesn't watch this video, I think it's going to happen someday. And if I'm going to be honest with myself, if I have to get a 6.5 cartridge, it's going to be the fastest and flattest shooting cartridge in the world. And after the poll results, I started thinking, why do you guys want me to get a 6.5 300? And I think it obviously comes down to one thing. How fast can I push it? It's no secret that I've been able to get crazy velocities with my Weatherby rifles in these Weatherby cartridges. For example, the 257 Weatherby, I've pushed a 101 grain LRX at over 3,800 feet per second. With my 300 Weatherby, I've pushed a 175 grain LRX almost 3,400 feet per second. And as of recently, 4 grains under max, I was pushing the 340 Weatherby with a 225 grain TTSX at 3,130 feet per second. So if I got a 6.5 300, what kind of crazy velocities could I get? Let's look at the load data and see. It's a bit tricky to find 6.5 300 Weatherby load data. I'm a little disappointed. This cartridge has been out since 2016. There's really only one place to find it, and that's on Weatherby's website. With a 127 grain Barnes LRX, you're going to have to use some of the slowest powder possible to get the velocities that you would probably want. And with US 869, a top velocity with the 127 is 3561. Very impressive. With the 130 grain Swift Sirocco, you're looking at mid 3,500 feet per second. With that high BC of a bullet going that fast, it is crazy flat shooting. Let's go ahead and look now at a 140 grain class bullet. We are looking again with US 869, nearly 3,400. That is moving. In the beginning of this video, I talked a little bit about the efficient, accurate 6.5 Creedmoor. Let's just do a little fun comparison. Yes, this isn't going to be apples to apples. We're going to compare the 6.5 Creedmoor to the 6.5 300 Weatherby. With a 140 grainish bullet going 2750, 2,351 foot-pounds at the muzzle. At 400 yards, what I really want to focus on is drop. Yeah, basically 29 inches of drop. Now, the 6.5 Creedmoor is touted as a long distance cartridge, a target cartridge. At 1,000 yards, it has 317 inches of drop. How does the 6.5 300 compare? The data for the 6.5 300, we're using a 143 grain at 3,400 feet per second. About 12 to 1,300 more foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle with the 6.5 300. At 400 yards, 17 inches of drop. You're 5 inches away from having half the drop in a 6.5 Weatherby at 400 compared to a 6.5 Creedmoor. It is crazy flat shooting. Out to 1,000 yards. 191 inches of drop compared to like 319 inches of drop, I believe. Yeah, huge difference. Now, obviously, comparing a 6.5 Creedmoor to a 6.5 300 Weatherby is, well, it's not apples to apples. So let's pick some other cartridges to see how crazy flat shooting the 6.5 300 Weatherby is. We'll go with the 6.5 PRC, one of the most popular 6.5 magnums with 143 grain ELDX. We're going to do a velocity of 3,050 feet per second, 2,954 foot-pounds at 500 yards, all respectable numbers. 7.73 is the drop in MOA, and then the windage in MOA with a 10-mile-per-hour wind. At 1,000 yards, again, the drop, 23.44 and 5.58 for wind adjustment. 6.5 300, I think it's very possible to get 3450. I've had people comment saying 3,500 is very obtainable with a 140 grain bullet. Check out these numbers. 3,780 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle. At 500 yards, you have a 2 MOA advantage over the 6.5 PRC in drop, and 2.05 with wind. And then at 1,000 yards, your bullet's almost going 2,000 feet per second. 17.66 MOA drop. And that's at sea level. You guys should see what the numbers are when you're at higher elevation. It is insane. Also, for you mil guys, that's 5.1 mils. 7 millimeter PRC, 3,000 feet per second. Bullet almost has 3,500 foot-pounds of energy. At 500 yards, 7.85 in drop, 2.22 in wind adjustment. And at 1,000 yards, 6.5 300 is still going about 200 feet per second faster and has a little more energy. 23.2 MOA drop compared to 17.66. And then a slight advantage in wind adjustment for the 6.5 300. It's not really fair to compare the 6.5 300 with the PRC, so let's look at another speed demon, the 28 Nosler. And I do think 3,200 feet per second is achievable. I've gotten nearly 3,250. 3,980 foot-pounds of energy. And then at 500 yards, 6.72. So full MOA advantage over the 7 PRC, but still 1 MOA away from the 6.5 300. 2.03, so finally a cartridge is beating the 6.5 300, at least in wind adjustment. And at 1,000 yards, bullet's going 1,930. It does have more energy. It's a bigger bullet, but 20.0 MOA. So the 6.5 300 has a 2.5 MOA advantage, but they're basically the same in wind. You know, the more I think about it, the more, yeah, I think I want a 6.5 300 Weatherby.